Hunter wanted to start conversations on Curiosity. So what did he do? He started a GoFundMe, raised over $800, and then built a studio in his room. The guy moved his bed out of his room. That's how dedicated he is.
Priorities, man.
Yeah.
Priorities.
Y'all aren't dedicated for real. You aren't moving your bed. Are you willing to give up your bed for your dreams? I am in the process of upgrading my studio and my sound quality, which is one of the reasons why I am with my good friend Hunter Kleinschmidt here, my guest today on the Morning Grind with Kenny B. Hunter, tell him what's up.
What up, guys? How you guys doing?
You know, you hear him. His voice sounds sturdy.
Yep, excited to be here. Excited to be here.
So if you're driving to work this morning, if you're getting ready for your workout, I don't know what, if you're just waking up, you hear that voice, that means wake up. You guys know how this show goes. It's really nonchalant, but today, me and Hunter here, we're going to talk about conversations on Curiosity. It's something new he's starting up here. You should be really excited for what's coming out, what this guy has planned. I'm in his studio right now. His setup is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad to have you, and couldn't be more excited for this project, man.
Yeah.
Getting so much support, and just the effect it's having on the people around me. I'm sure you know.
Oh yeah.
Just creating a project, following that path. It's inspiring, even before you get to the working phase of it. Dude, it's incredible.
And, you know, there's no excuse to not. Money isn't an excuse to chase what you want to do and to do what you want to do, because this guy started a GoFundMe to build his studio, and it worked for him.
The biggest thing for just starting your own project in general is just getting started.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And like doing, what do you have to do to get it? I don't have funds, so it's like I gotta find funds somehow.
Exactly.
And crowdfunding is just one way to go, especially. I saw the opportunity with it being Christmas time. Everything on my list was furniture, so I was like, nah, I can't do that. It was pretty much I could use this time to funnel a bunch of support that way.
Yeah,
so that's kind of what I did.
Hunter, if you would just talk a little bit about yourself before we get into conversations on Curiosity. Just kind of tell us who you are, what you're about, what you're doing right now, things like that.
Yeah, definitely. So graduating senior right now, Doane University, same college as Kenny here. Getting to the end of my undergraduate career, looking to pursue a PhD. And really just trying to find myself some hobbies and some passions to pursue as I get out of that college setting and into the real world, wherever it might be, if that's a PhD program or just a job, everyday job. So that's where this brand came into play. Really involved in science. I've traveled around the world communicating it through projects, research, just discussions in general.
Scotland, right?
Yep, Scotland, Edinburgh. That was an absolutely beautiful experience.
Through the Human Planetary Health Alliance?
Yep.
Nice.
So the Planetary Health Alliance was created by Harvard, I think about 4 or 5 years ago, as a global alliance that's just interested in planetary health, which involves human health and like global climate health, stuff like that. So yeah, it's a very interesting program. I'm really glad I got to get involved in that at a younger age, because last year I went to Scotland. Next year we get to go to Stanford.
Nice.
Which is going to be real. I'm really excited for that. A lot of facilitating experience or leadership, because when I went to Scotland, my sole purpose there was to facilitate that discussion.
Right.
So just getting in, that experience alone, man, was absolutely beautiful, because it gave me so much confidence, because after I'm done giving this talk, I start meeting these people, because they're funneling in all at the beginning, and then after this talk, I start running into them and talking to them, and all these guys are 26-year-olds, 28-year-olds from Oxford, and some of these guys are professors. The fact that a lot of them complimented me on how we led that discussion, it was like, holy shit, man, I can do this. This is my thing. So yeah, I have a really large science background, and that's my true passion, specifically astrology, cosmology, cosmetology. Did I say cosmology? On my LinkedIn profile, I put the wrong one, and someone's like, "Oh, you really like working with makeup?" And I was like, I gotta change that, man. That's
cosmetology.
Yeah.
That's cosmetology.
Yeah. I always get them mixed up, man.
Hit
Bad
up Hunter Kleinschmidt if you need that sew-in or you need a lace front. You know what I mean?
I've been doing a little research. I can do the makeup for your wedding if you'd like. But yeah, man, really into space. Really gets me going.
What exactly is Conversations on Curiosity?
Yeah, that's a good question. And quite honestly, it's hard for me to answer, because first off, what the general idea behind it is, it's a personal brand.
Right.
Like it's so important. I don't think enough younger people do it that are involved in different things.
Right.
It's just creating that brand around you, because there's so much potential no matter what you do, whatever field you're in.
It's what you bring to the table.
Yeah, with your reach, man.
Right.
Through the internet and different social media platforms, just creating that brand at a young age gives you so much potential.
You're hitting the nail right on the head. I think one of the problems I had in the professional realm, I felt like in my first few months, I tried too hard to be a professional.
Yeah, definitely.
And, and it's realizing that your brand is exactly who you are.
Yeah.
You bring to the table what you are, because it's you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and something that might really ties in well to that, that I figured out along this journey and how I was like formatting how I was going to portray this is documentation versus creation. Like this isn't about creating, this is about documenting your journey.
Exactly.
Right, so it's just always you, and then people who tune in can see that development, whatever that genuine might be.
Exactly.
So then in order to make that brand, I had to answer, well, what are my passions and what are my skills? So we have the main project that I'm working on right now is the podcast, C on C podcast, which is going to launch January 26th. It's going to be a little different than this. It's going to be more long form and conversational.
Y'all hear that? January 26th, Conversations on Curiosity. Write it down. Put it in your planner. Tune in. You better.
Yeah, that's actually so that is a Saturday. I'm going to be trying to release those weekly on Saturdays. So that first one's going to be with Renzo Guinto, Dr. Renzo Guinto. He's a public official from Harvard. Great guy. He is based in the Philippines right now. He's just a global leader in energy and sustainability. Super interesting guy. Actually, a colleague of mine when I went to Scotland. So me and him facilitated the discussion together. Dude is an incredible entrepreneur and super charismatic. And I posted about this about a year ago, but seriously, like if I were in that room with him any longer, I would have dropped out of college and joined his plan. Like he, you know what I mean? He's just one of those charismatic guys.
You want to hop right on. You want anything he's about, you want to be about, like, because it's just got success written all. I know what you mean.
Yeah, exactly. And so I have the podcast side of things, which is really coming along. Then the other side of it is an outreach program, which is just me talking to younger individuals going into the college scene or just trying to be a professional, especially in today's age. Because I feel really strongly about the fact that knowledge is no longer centralized, and the idea of needing to go to college to become a professional and be good at something isn't necessarily the way. And the biggest focus of that is just optimizing the internet. How do you get opportunities? Like coming in as a freshman, like if you want to be a veterinarian, you should be emailing 100 veterinarians a day. Because you have the ability to do so. Or if you really want to kick ass, you can call 100 veterinarians a day.
Exactly.
And I guarantee at least one of those guys is going to answer the phone, and that next week you have it, like you actually get to taste the job. Because so many fucking people, dude, are coming out of the college scene, have no idea what their passion is, and like just drudging through the sand for like 10 years into their 30s, man. And I don't think that should be happening. And for me personally, it's like one of the worst things I hate. Like I've seen it in my family and my friends. It just destroys me, dude.
Oh yeah, you gotta find that thing that puts blood in your heart and keeps it going. You know what I mean? And it's like you gotta stop. I feel like there's a lot of people waiting for someone to tell them what that is. I mean, nobody can tell you what that's gonna be. And I think people are like, well, I don't know what I'm passionate about. Well, you have never tried to be passionate about anything,
exactly. You know? We talked about this a little bit. And I spent a lot of time trying to look at that why.
Exactly.
And one of the biggest conclusions I came to was just the reason people aren't motivated to find their passion and like complain about it, I believe, is that because they really don't know how good it feels to have that passion. 2 weeks ago, I woke up mid-idea. Like right out of bed, like mid-idea, like about space and this stuff I was researching, and I was like, oh my god, like I completed my thought as I got out of bed, and it was crazy, man. But I just feel like a lot of people don't know how good that can feel, so they're not really motivated to chase it.
2 questions. What's been the greatest challenge with getting Conversations on Curiosity started, and then where do you see it going?
So the biggest challenge by far with the project and launching it was simply the beginning. Just getting it off the ground and getting rid of all the different opinions and voices, all that stuff that's like just in popular information and like communication, that was giving me excuses and keeping me from actually starting the project. For example, especially in the science community, you are it's not very acceptable to speak out of your lane, right? So if you're an environmentalist, you talk about the environment. You go in and try to talk about. I mean, I think this is on all platforms of like information, right? No one wants an environmentalist to come talk about politics, right? No one's gonna listen to them. So there's definitely that. It was like, well, how do I get out of that bubble, especially that this scientific community puts me in? And then the other big thing was. Another thing in information and education is that if you don't have a PhD, no one really wants to listen to you talk.
Right.
And I don't think that's nearly as true as it was in the 30s or 40s when information was like held by universities and shit like that. But yeah, so those are the two biggest hurdles to overcome, and it eventually got to the point where I was just like tired of making excuses, man. And I put this a lot in the documentation as far as information regarding the brand, but it was like it wasn't, I didn't wake up one morning and it was like, you know what, I'm going to start the podcast, or I'm going to start the brand today. It was literally like, if I don't start this thing, I'm going to regret this for the rest of my fucking life.
Right.
Guaranteed. Like, if I don't start this when I'm 60 or 70, I'm going to be fucking pissed, and I'm going to be, that what if is going to be a really big one, and it's going to hang for 40 to 50 years.
Right.
So I was like, and I'm not about that, man. That's one thing I really try to avoid. So saying that I chose to one morning, this sounds very cliche, but saying I woke up and chose to is not very accurate, not very good depiction of reality.
Woke up and you had to.
Yeah. And it does sound really cliche.
Oh, no.
But it is it's like legit. It's very true, man.
When that thing ignites in you, it's no longer a choice. It's something you have to do.
Absolutely not.
It is something you have to do. And I think that's the problem with people and why they say they don't see where they're going, it's because you haven't made anything a priority yet. Mm-hmm. When you turn, like I said, when something becomes something you have to do, it consumes you. And all the listeners out there, we talked about this in that episode, Make a Decision, where it wasn't reasonable for me personally. It wasn't reasonable for me to think, right, I can go to college, right? It probably wasn't reasonable for Hunter to think he could go to college, and then let alone it wasn't reasonable if he said he could go and become colleagues with Ivy League professors and develop these relationships. That probably would have never been reasonable had he said that 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. 100% I agree.
Success isn't reasonable. That's what people don't understand. You're not going to reason your way to success. You're going to fight your way, boil and toil through obstacles that don't see what you have at the very end.
That is 100% correct. I think that's one big problem, that people just try to be too reasonable with their decisions.
Right.
For example, if I were to go about this in a rational way, for all the reasons I just talked about, not having a PhD, my stance in the science community, we wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have created this. Yeah, and as far as where I see it going, I really plan on this being a long-term thing, man.
Right.
Like I said, especially in the science community, I'm going to pursue my PhD, so I am going to be locked into a very narrow scope of looking at the world and asking questions. And that's not me, man. So I really plan on getting that stimulation, that seek of asking questions and exploring different fields through this project. And then afterwards, especially after I get that PhD, hopefully it can turn into a bigger thing. And I mean, just looking at a podcast like Joe Rogan, like if you watch some of his first episodes, it looks like it was filmed on a potato.
Exactly.
And then now it's absolutely amazing. So
got to start somewhere.
Yeah, and he's been doing it for like 9-10 years. So it's one of those things. It's long term. I'm not doing this for the money.
Right.
It's because I love talking to people, and I love having intelligent, meaningful conversation.
Right. To wrap up, so what advice would you give to anyone who's trying to do something similar?
Yeah. I think just for like chasing your passion in general, and I think we touched on it really well, is that you can't really be reasonable, right? You have to be long term. You can't be short term. If I was reasonable, and if you let those reasonable thoughts kind of take their front seat in your brain or your head, you're gonna have way too many excuses not to follow what's passionate to you. Yeah, like we said, for example, if I were to be reasonable, if I were to follow the logic that's been instilled in me through my, the science community, I don't have a PhD, so I wouldn't be trying to communicate different topics to people. I wouldn't be trying to talk to all these. I wouldn't have a near as successful as a platform to create this. And yeah, you have to be willing to explore different avenues to find your passion. I think too many people are just waiting for their passion or what's true to them to show up on their Instagram page.
Right.
And that's not how it works. And I promise you, if you knew what it felt like to have a passion and wake up every morning with just an insane drive to ask questions about what you love, there's be no doubt in my mind that all of you would be emailing 100 people in your field every day to try to get a job shadowing opportunity next Tuesday.
Yeah. people think it's just supposed to land in their lap.
Yeah.
They graduated.
And they're okay with that because they don't know what it feels like.
Right.
And that's one of the big parts behind the outreach program, is because especially like even with my mom, like close relatives, stuff like that, it's like I can just you can, if you see regret and just like disdain on older people's faces, it's like, bro, I don't want to do that.
Exactly.
And
you owe it to them.
Yeah.
To follow your dreams, because they probably said no to something to make sure, you know.
Exactly, man.
You got the chance to do something.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and I truly believe that. There's just so many people in my community alone that come up to me and ask me, like, how are you so passionate about what you do? Dude, you just gotta work. You're not passionate about anything because you don't know about anything. It's like, no wonder you don't think, maybe you're passionate about business, but you wouldn't know because you spent the first week of class or the first 2 weeks of class during the intro looking up hoodies for the weekend.
Right.
Because you're more concerned about what girl you're gonna get than your future.